Hello there, welcome back to Planet Zoo. Thank you so much for joining me today in this new episode of Lunar Zoo. I do hope you're having a good day, and hopefully I'm about to make it even better because we have got quite a project on today. So this is what we did in our last episode. This was our Baird's tapir habitat. It was only a small one, pretty simple and straightforward, but I kind of like how it turned out. Particularly with this little sort of sheltered area in the corner here, and our tapir in here having fun, which is cool. So the zoo's looking pretty good now already. I mean, it's coming together well anyway. There's still lots more to do, but today we are focusing on this. So in the last episode I told you about this wall that I built here. Obviously I needed the wall to be in place so that I could design this area here, but this wall is part of something much larger, and I can tell you it's huge. I've done it already. It's completely finished and in the bag, and I'm going back now and recording these commentaries having finished the entire project, so I can kind of talk to you about what you're going to see at each stage while also telling you maybe what happens in the future, if you see what I mean. Because there are certain bits that change as time goes on, let's just say that. So yes, I can tell you what it's going to be as well. It's not too much of a giveaway. It's going to be a reptile house, and my vision for it before I really started was that I wanted it to be a low building, so not much taller than this wall is, and large, and with just a big flat roof. Obviously some sort of entrance way, or 2 or 3 entrances, and then inside would be just maybe half a dozen different reptile habitats. So that was my basic plan. However, obviously as I got building it, I decided I did want to make it as interesting as possible, of course, so I end up doing an underground habitat as well as those that you see up on the normal level. I also put in quite a few exhibit animals because most of those are reptiles, so it makes sense, and in fact that's what I do first. And so let me load up stage 1 of this new project, and we'll discuss what I started with. So here's the beginning stage of mapping out what was going to go inside. So first off, I decided on the left here I wanted to have some of the exhibits. I end up putting a couple more actually at this end here. So my theory with these was essentially I wanted to build a fake rock wall sort of on this front level, so you can only see them from the front. So between the 2 front sections here would be some kind of a fake wall, and then the same here, and between all of them basically. That was my plan going into it. I do sort of change that a little bit, and I'll explain that to you in the next stage what I do. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out, but that was the idea, is that I wanted a load of these first. So as soon as you walk in, straight away you've got these to look at on your left. They're more boring animals, I guess. I mean, when I go to zoos I love looking at these sort of small exhibits. I mean, these are actually huge when you consider that some of these just have a couple of spiders or a couple of frogs in. Actually, when you go to a zoo and you do see this sort of thing in a reptile house, they're tiny cages, little glass tanks, most of them, certainly with things like the spiders. They don't have anything close to this sort of size, so actually this is really quite big. But obviously for the sake of the game it has to be a good size, doesn't it? So that makes sense. But yeah, so I thought that as soon as you walk in, I thought it'd be nice to have a load of these to view down this sort of wide pathway before you get into the more interesting animals further on. This was when I decided that I wanted to do an underground exhibit, so I was just getting the basic pathing structure in first, which you can see I've done here. So this was done using the tunneling technique, where it automatically tunnels out the ground for you when you lay the path. Which does create an issue that you end up with all this spare space that you've got to fill in, but that's fine. It's the easiest way of doing it underground. So at the time I didn't actually have a clue what I was going to put down here. I guessed it would probably be one of the crocodiles, and that is what it ends up being. Obviously we've got a few different crocodiles in the game. We have the saltwater crocodiles, we have the dwarf caiman. I know they're technically caiman, they're not crocodiles, but you know what I mean. And we have the gharials as well. And in this enclosure I end up having the saltwater crocodiles down here, and I do have some dwarf caiman upstairs as well in the end. So that was my basic plan there, and then the idea was that the path would come around here in some sort of a loop, and basically you just have all the gaps would be filled in. So around the outside there'd be several enclosures, and then there'd be sort of one in the middle here, maybe another one here. But obviously I was making it all up as I went along, to be honest. So that was my basic plan. But first I really wanted to focus on what I was doing here, because I really wanted to see if I could actually do what I was hoping I could do. So that's what I move on to next. So let me get the next stage loaded and see what I got up to next. Okay, well, I actually got it a bit wrong. This wasn't what I worked on next. You have to forgive me, it's been a while since I actually built this. I can't remember what I did and what stage. So what I did next was to start work on the underground enclosure. And as you can see, this is what I've come up with as a basic structure. So the idea was I wanted a huge tank of water here, obviously, so that the people could look in at the side and see the animals. As you can see, there are 3 crocs in there floating around, not doing a lot like the crocodiles tend to do. But the tricky thing I had was that I needed a bed area over here, but I needed them to be able to get into the water as well, which is very tricky when it's a raised one like this. So this was my solution. Just created a ramp, basically just up the back and then down into the water. It was quite tricky making sure that they could actually use that, but I got there in the end. Obviously there's still a whole load more I need to do down here. So the idea was that this would all be blocked in with some sort of a mesh framework and some more solid stuff. Obviously the water tanks never look very solid with these sort of flimsy white edges. So some nice sturdy pillars all the way along here. Lots of decorating obviously around the stairs and around the edge of the platform. And I actually wanted to make this look like a proper cave as well. So I really wanted to do my idea was to do like what's it called, stalactites hanging down from the ceiling as well. So I have a go at doing that, and there's just some general rock work as well would be needed in here. And obviously there's lots of roof areas here that need filling up. So it was quite a big project, even just doing this one enclosure down underground. I tend to find that there seems to be an awful lot more to do when you do something underground than above ground. You end up with a lot more gaps to fill. Lots more surface area, of course, because you've got all the walls and the ceiling as well as the ground. So yeah, it was quite tricky, quite a big job, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So let me load up the next stage and see what I did next. I was sort of flitting around trying to get the structure in place before I do too much detailing. So you can see here I've decided on where the next pathway is going to go. I wanted to make it interesting. I didn't want it to just all be flat and straight lines, so plenty of curves. I put some steps in, so there's a raised area here, slightly wider platform here, thinking that I could put some seating on there, and then another load of steps and a wiggly path, more steps. So what that did was create obviously a large habitat in the middle here, so something will go in there. It meant that I stuck another one of these exhibits in here as well. I could have just connected them with a path, but I thought no, let's, there's quite a big gap here, I might as well put something in it. And so another exhibit went in there. I also put 2 more exhibits over here, and as you can see, all of these have now been occupied with various different things. If you can spot them, well done, because these things hide well, don't they? I don't know what is on this one. Should we have a look? Oh, I see a spider. There we go. Oh, that's terrifying. oh, that's a Goliath bird eater, I think. I can't click on it. Oh, well. No, I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah, those are big spiders, the biggest in the world, I think. There's another one in here somewhere. I don't feel safe. Where are you, Mr. Spider? Let's get ready to jump on me. No, I have no idea. They do hide well. Oh, it's in its tube. There we are. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh, right, anyway. So there's spiders in that one. Terrapins. Here we go. Here's some terrapins down in this one. A couple of them. Oh, this is a good game, this is. Can I remember what I put in all these enclosures? The answer is no. I'm guessing some snakes, maybe? Or lizards? No. No. Can't see a thing. Oh, frog. Oh, look at him. Giant frog. There we go. Oh, he's impressive. Not that I can see him. This camera work is awful, isn't it? I do apologise. Oh, look at him. He's a handsome fellow, isn't he? Fantastic. Okay, so we've got a frog in there. I think there are two. I always put things in pairs. So there is another one in there somewhere. Don't know where, but it's in there. Trust me, it's in there. What have we got in here? Oh, these will be these... This is a lizard of some sort, I think, in this one. Oh, there they are at the back here. Can't actually remember the name, but they're pretty cool looking things, aren't they? That's that one. So there's two of them in there. Ooh, what have we got in here? Oh, is this the iguanas? They should be quite easy to spot because they're massive. No, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. There we go. There's an iguana. Look at him. He's huge. Oh, and there's another one down the back there having a swim. Oh, they're awesome. They look fantastic. The detailing on their skin is wonderful. Look at that. Oh, he is fantastic, isn't he? I love their idle animations. And they just sit there. You see their eyes just moving a bit. Their heads, the fingers move. Little tweaks. You can see them breathing. Oh, it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely brilliant. I do love them. I'd love to have one in real life. I really would. Maybe one day. And finally, we have a snake. Oh, look at him down in the water there. Awesome. I can't remember what I ended up putting in this one. I think I put scorpions in this one. I think. Anyway, there we go. Right, so that's kind of all I've done in the last segment. Down here still is exactly the same. But yeah, so this was my thinking. Was I just wanted to get the structure in place. So all the pathways are now in place. I think actually do another path over here connecting to the outside world, and then again off here just connecting to the outside. Pretty sure I don't remember. It's been so long. We'll see, won't we? I mean, there is a lot to this, so this is probably going to stretch over 2 episodes, I think, because there really is quite a lot going on in here once I start building the main habitats. But I believe next I probably will be working on the surrounds for all of this, and that I remember that being one of the longest things that I did in here. So let me load up the next stage and see what I did next. Right, starting to get a lot more detail on now, or more the structure at least. You can see what I've done with the building. Just put the simple shape of the building in place. So there's going to be another exit here and here, and then this wider one is the main entrance. Have I put an animal in here yet? No, I haven't. Okay, no problem. So this was the main feature that I started doing over here. I had the idea because, like I said, I wanted to put this fake wall in between all of these, but actually I had the idea that I could put fake habitats in between each of these. So this is what I came up with. So it's quite simple actually, and I'm amazed that it worked so well. So this is just a glass barrier on its own, just a square and filled with water, and then you just put the scenery around it. So you've got the posts, you've got the rock work at the back, you've got bricks at the bottom, and then inside it's one of these large green panels at the bottom. So it looks really cool because it actually looks like you've got a layer of soil and then a load of greenery. Then I've just sunk some plants in, so some ferns, nettles, some rocks, a water lily and a couple of different reeds and bulrushes at the back there, and then a bit more rock work as well, which in the end gets integrated into more rock work. And obviously there's nothing in there, you can't put an animal in there, but it gives the impression that there's some sort of water creature there. And so what I end up doing is copying this and putting one in between here and here and here and here. I think that's it. I don't think I put one right over here. Actually, I might put one over here as well. And each time I copy it, I just vary up the vegetation inside. So I just move the lily, I swap some different plants in and out, just so each one looks a little bit different. And that really is all I did, and I absolutely love the effect. I think it just adds something more. You know, when you stand back and look at this, you've got an exhibit there, an exhibit there, there. You've got massive gaps, and realistically, in a zoo like this, you wouldn't have these big gaps. They would fill every inch that they had with these creatures, because, like I said, these creatures do not need lots of space. So if they could fit another snake in a habitat here, or you know, another spider one, or a lizard over here or whatever, they would do it. I mean, when you go into zoos with reptile houses, they have dozens and dozens of enclosures, all these glass tanks with all the different snakes and spiders and lizards and things in. So it made sense to me that they would cram in as many as possible. So this was my theory with this, and I'm so happy with how this turned out. It looked wonderful, and the fact that you can change the water as well, that really helped, because it meant I could make it really clear, so you could actually really see everything that I've put inside as well. It's such a simple thing. It's just something I hadn't done before, and I think it worked out really, really nicely. So the rest of it, I basically that was my big job. That took me a little while to do that. And then you've got the structure of the building. Let me just go underground. I don't think I've done any more down here yet. No, still exactly the same down here. Our crocodiles are still just lounging around like they do, which is fine. That's what they like to do. That's how they spend their day. They're happy. That's what matters. So yeah, there we go. That was our fake habitat, and I'm so pleased with it. So next, obviously, I'm going to be duplicating it into these gaps, and then varying it up a little bit, and then doing a lot of rock work around it as well, around here with vegetation, etc, etc. So it did turn into quite a big task. Obviously, the way I'd done this was as a blueprint like that. So what I had to do when I moved it was create the squares of the barrier first, and then just slide this into place over the top. So it wasn't too bad. I had to manipulate the barrier here and there just to make everything fit together. But yeah, it was quite a simple process in the end. What are you doing in there? You're not standing on a better path, you crazy woman. Well, that's a bit interesting, isn't it? I purposely see this one I haven't deleted that yet, but when you put these down, it automatically connects to all the local paths. So obviously I've just deleted the pathways at the back, but I've forgotten that one. But she was walking there where there clearly isn't a path anymore. I deleted it, so that's very odd. Never mind, there we go. Right, let's move on, and let's see what the next bit of the process was. Okay, we've moved on quite a way here, so let's have a look at how it's looking now. I think it's coming along really nicely at this stage. So you can see I've copied this habitat around into all of the gaps. Actually, I didn't put one in this gap in the end. It didn't quite work in there. Another one there, another one there, and I don't think one goes at the end. And then I've just built up with rock work, and that took a long time doing all this rock work. Now you have to bear in mind this is going to be viewed from down here, so it doesn't matter what it looks like from the top, because there's going to be a flat roof covering all of that up anyway. So what I cared about was what it looked like from down here, and obviously there's going to be foliage as well. But I absolutely love it. I think it looks great, because all you can see is the glass windows for the habitats. And as you walk along, so you've got this. I put these information boards down in here, just sort of suggesting that there's something in there. And I do the same for the actual habitats eventually as well. But yeah, as you walk through, you just look at each habitat as you go along. The rock work is just there, but it all kind of just blends together nicely. Actually, especially this one, because it looks like the rocks inside are the same as the ones on the outside. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it just, I don't know, it just works. I just like it. It's all very big and over the top. Obviously, in real life, it would all be just fake rocks. There's nothing real about any of it. But but it is what you see in zoos. I've been to zoos where they have this sort of thing, and they do just decorate the walls to look like fake rocks. It's a pretty common thing. Should we see if we can see our terrifying spiders? I'm obsessed with these things. They just scare the crap out of me. I'm not a fan of spiders, I'll be honest. Not in real life. I don't mind them when they're in a glass tank, you know. And the crazy thing is, I'll happily have a tarantula walking on my hand, but you show me a house spider skittling along the floor, oh dear, I'm running a mile. Oh, I can't handle that. I can't handle loose spiders. I can't even see them. Maybe they've escaped. Oh no, there's one. I mean, it's big enough. You'd think I'd be able to find it. Where's the other one? I've never seen both of them in here. Are we sure there's two in here? I've got to check now. It's got me worried. There is two in here. Where are you? Ah, they're both at the front here. Okay. That's cool. Whoops. Hang on. Where are you both? There we go. One hiding under the leaf, one getting ready to climb up the log. Oh, horrible things. Sorry, I get distracted. Right, so yeah, so that's the idea. That is roughly what I do here. Like I said, I do add loads of foliage. I probably do that in the next stage actually, and it looks really cool when I put lighting in as well. I believe I put blue lighting in. And then, because there's a lot of water, obviously, with the fake habitats, and once you've got the roof on and all the lighting lit up, it looks really, really nice, and the foliage as well makes it really stand out as well. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how that all turned out. Like I said, it did take me quite a while to do. So then the idea, so I was kind of looking at this, thinking, right, okay, well, I've got a habitat space there. I've got one there, I've got a big one in the middle, and then probably one more here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 down underground. That was my thinking. At one point I did consider trying to fit something into here, but it wasn't big enough, and not just suitable terrain either, because of all this gap work. I couldn't really do much in there. I may have been able to squeeze something in, but I didn't want things to look too squashed. But I thought these gaps are perfect sizes to put a habitat in each one. So that is what I ended up doing, obviously, because we've got the crocodiles down underground here as well. So I thought 5 habitats was a good number for there, considering that you've then got this corner filled up with all the exhibit animals as well. So you can see it coming together, and hopefully you can also see why it's such a big project, because it's a very large building. It's sort of half the size of the rest of the zoo put together. So you can kind of see why it took me so long to do. But it was worth it, believe me. In the end, I'm so happy with how it turns out. Really, really happy. Right, so let me load up the next stage and see what I did next. Foliage added. This is what I came up with. So I wanted it to look reptilian. Obviously, it's a reptile house, so it got me thinking, you know, where do a lot of these reptiles live? And the answer is jungles. I thought made sense, which tells me ferns and bracken, which we call ferns, to be honest. So different types of ferns. You've got these lovely tree ferns. These things are amazing. They're amazing in real life, and they're amazing in the game. I absolutely love them. So plenty of those, plenty of these smaller ferns, the bracken, and these large, I always forget what these ones are called, the bird's nest ferns as well. They look really cool. So there's a few of those put around. So they're just sprinkled around the front. Obviously I've got one here leaning right over the exhibit here. I also put some vines in as well. This is something that you do see in places. Big fake vines, big rubber vines. Just makes the whole thing feel nice and jungly. So there's some of them just kind of stretched around on the rock work for here and there. Just keeping it sort of sparse, but you know, covering gaps, just spreading stuff out, and just making sure everything's got something going on in it. You know, don't leave any big gaps, but at the same time you don't want everything to feel too cramped either. I kind of like here we've got this big fern here, and it hides what's around the corner, so you really have to come round here to see what's going on over here. Oh, and I've also put the little exhibit information boards in to tell you about each animal. Oh look, our frog's come to the front here. Oh, he's a handsome chap, isn't he? I like him. He's got a girlfriend somewhere as well, or possibly she's got a boyfriend. I'm not sure which one's which. Is there a frog in the water somewhere? There's a frog in the water. Of course there is. Where else would you find a frog? Very hard to do these tiny little camera movements to get a view. Oh, well, that's quite a view, isn't it? There we go. Hello, Mr. Frog. Or Mrs. Frog. Who are you? Oh, I can't click them, can I? It's very annoying that you can't click the exhibit animals. You'd think I'd learn, but I don't. I keep trying to do it. Anyway. So yes, more vines all stretching around the place, and ferns, more ferns, a few more ferns, and a couple more ferns. But it's such a simple thing, but when you get it right, it just looks so natural. The vines really help. At first I didn't put the vines on at first, and I was looking at it and I just thought it needed something else other than just the plants. It needed something else, and so the vines is what I came up with. And because of the way I'd created these sort of alcoves here above my fake exhibits, it just made the perfect space to hang some vines in. And I did try this one across the enclosure, but I didn't want to do that on them all because it would just look silly having that on all of them. So yeah, there we go. I think that looks great. I really do. Looks really, really nice. I think once you're down at this level, it looks exactly how a reptile house would look, I think. You know, nice and wild, nice and jungly, lots of glass, because obviously glass is the main barrier that you'll find in any reptile house. So yeah, really, really pleased with how that all turned out. And that is essentially that side finished now. So that was my first big area of the whole building, and that probably took me altogether. It probably took me on and off. It took me a few hours. So yeah, it certainly wasn't a simple process to get that done, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm particularly pleased with how my fake exhibits turned out. So it was well worth the time. I suspect I work on the crocodiles next. I'm pretty sure that was the exhibit I finished first. So let me move on and check out whether that was indeed what I did next. A bit of a jump ahead here. As you can see, we have some Galapagos giant tortoises in our reptile house. This was a pretty straightforward habitat, so basically it's all been done in one go, because it didn't take me a lot of time. It was a pretty straightforward one. So let me show you what I did. So it's in this corner. So you've got your little exhibits over there, and then I had this gap behind this pathway between the entrance and the exhibits, and I thought it'd be perfect for a couple of tortoises. So here they are. We have Martin, although it's got an accent, so does that mean it's French or something? Martine, maybe. And we have Sylvia. So they're very happy living in here. So let me show you what I did. First, obviously I put the barrier in, so I thought the entrance here made sense. I wanted to continue the theme of the rocks, so the same coloured rocks are being used everywhere, and I wanted to cover up quite a lot of the wall. I didn't want it completely covered. I liked the look of it, sort of going from the bottom up, but then you can still see the wall above it. I like the look of that, so that's what I did, and that is what I will continue doing around the rest of it as well. So once I'd put that in place, it was just a big blank area here. So I had the idea of using these archways within the habitat here just to sort of segment the areas and just to bring it all together a bit, you know, kind of link the pathway with the habitat a bit more. And that worked pretty nicely. So in the end I actually put one here on the entrance as well. This is something I'm doing a lot in this zoo, is things like archways. I like how it links two areas together, and it creates a tunnel, it creates a doorway from one area to the next. It's a very simple device. It's actually something that we use in gardening a lot. So when you're designing a large garden, you don't create it as one big garden generally. You try and create rooms within a garden, and you do that with things like archways, doors, hedges, that kind of thing. So that you have to walk through one area to get to the next. You can't see everything from one spot. That's the idea. And so that's exactly what I'm doing here with this arch, where you come in here and you can't, obviously once there's stuff here, you won't be able to see that habitat at all unless you walk through the archway. And here you are, now you can see. So that was my thinking there, and I think it looks pretty cool. So once that was in place, obviously they needed some water, so I put a small pond in for them at this end. Needed more rock work here because of the raised pathway, of course, so that made sense just to make a really simple rock formation here. Obviously the foliage is continued, so it's the same, so it's ferns, and in the pond here you've got some of the one of these moss panels sunken down in there as well. And then again at the back, just the odd fern dotted around, nothing too major here. You know, tree fern up here, and I wanted them to have a little cave to get into, and this was originally a solid wall and there was obviously a gap back here, so I just thought, yeah, why not, let's just remove a couple of the stones and create a little cave. So obviously it doesn't need any more detailing, so in real life this little cave, they wouldn't bother doing anything else in here. It would possibly even be an access to the back of this exhibit here, because that's really, you know, people can't see it from out here. All you can see is a bit of wall, which is fine. So yes, maybe they would put some stonework on that wall so you didn't see it, but it's not like they're trying to hide the whole wall because you can see it up here. But I wanted somewhere where the tortoises could get to without having to do something out here. I didn't want to have to create a shelter in one of these areas. I didn't want to have to use up the space, and when that little space was just sitting there waiting to be used, it made sense just to open it up to them. So that's what I did, and then I just created a really simple fence. This is one of the little African fence pieces all just linked together on top of these bricks. I really like this fence actually, it's a lovely looking thing, and obviously being tortoises, they don't need a big fence, they're not going to be able to climb over that. And there's not an issue with people getting in. They're not dangerous animals or anything, so you don't have to worry about people climbing in with them. People could happily just jump in if they wanted to. I'm sure they won't, but if they wanted to they could, and it's not like the animals are going to harm them. So a small fence is all that's needed, and then a couple of information panels on here. Want to kind of scatter these through the park as much as possible so that it looks like a real park, because whenever you go to actual zoos you do get all sorts of information panels all over the place. And obviously up here you've got your main one up on the bridge here as well. And then just a few enrichment items as well. You've got a food stick here, you've got a ball, another ball, and then a food ball, and a sprinkler over here as well, and a little scent thing. So yeah, all sorts. Is that a scent thing? I think it is. Yeah, scent mark, yeah. So yeah, pretty simple habitat really, but it filled the gap. It's good for the animals. I think it looks pretty cool. It continues the theme from here. I do end up using slightly different themes for some of the other exhibits. The rock work isn't all the same, I don't think. The style is the same, but I think I do use different rocks in one or two of them, but that will have to wait. So yeah, there we go. So that's our first proper animal in, and you can see it coming together really quite nicely now actually. So still 1, 2, 3 and the downstairs crocodiles bit 4 to go, as well as obviously filling in the gaps. This exhibit here needs work, and you still got 2 entrances there, an entrance here and the roof. So there's still quite a lot more to do. Oh yes, I also raised the walls. That was something, I might have done that in the last segment and not noticed. But I liked the idea of having these windows on the back here. I think they look really cool, these windows on there. But to be able to get them on, I had to make the wall taller. So this is now sort of 1.5 the height that it was before. And these windows, I know they don't make any sense because obviously they're not on the inside. But I'm going for aesthetics here, and on the outside I think they look really cool, and they will continue around the entire building in the end. At times they might end up getting removed depending on what I then build on the outside of the building, but for now I'll just put them all the way around because I think they look great. So there we go. Right, let me dash on. I'm not too sure when I'm going to be ending this episode. I have to see when it gets too long. I've got to try and find the halfway point roughly, because as you can tell, there's still quite a lot to do. So I think I'll just load up the next segment and see what there is to show you, and then I will decide whether that's going to be the end of the episode or if we will do a little bit more. But let me just load that up, and I'll be right back. Progress here. So the next stage was working on the downstairs crocodile habitat. However, firstly up here I decided to put another exhibit animal in this gap here. It was quite a big area here, and it just didn't make sense to leave it blank or just fill it in with rock work. So I thought I'd put another animal in there. So I do. That's going to go in there. And this one over here now has an animal in it. I said I thought it was scorpions. Let's see if we can find them, shall we? If my memory is correct, anyway. Is that an animal there? No. No. I know they're in there somewhere. Oh, it's a good fun game in itself, this, isn't it? Find the exhibit animal. Probably staring straight at me. I think the scorpions, if it is indeed scorpions, I think they do climb. So maybe they're higher up. No. No, 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 nope. Oh, they do hide well, don't they? Blimey. No, they're not there. Right, not having that. I know you're in there. Come on. Animals. There, scorpion, where are you? Right there. How did I not see that? Oh, look, is that the other one on the tree back there as well? No, it's not. Where's it gone? Oh, God, look at it. That's why I didn't see it. It blends in really well, actually. Wow, there we go. We have a tiny little scorpion. And there are two of them in here. I'm not going to look for the other one because it's probably right in front of me. But hey ho, there we go. Anyway, so right, so what did I do underground? As you can see from up here, I decided to go with this lovely stonework. I love this stuff. It looks fantastic. Proper sort of old English walls used to be made like this. I think if you go to Wales, you still see an awful lot of walls along the roadsides built like this. Very nice, yeah, really, really nice. So that obviously it leaves gaps to be filled in, but that will be a job for later on. So as we go down underground, these walls cover the whole area, and round the corner I've done a bit of work now with the framework. Now the only problem we have here, these people, look, they jump through the wall for some reason. Even though this is all pathway, they get halfway and they leap down through the wall down to here. I have no idea why, because this is all solid path. It's all in-game stuff. I do not know why they don't use it properly. I tried rebuilding it and it didn't work. So yeah, it's just what they do. It doesn't really bother me, but it is a bit odd. So what have I done here? This obviously, like I said, it needed to be made to look stronger. So that's why I've gone with these huge concrete pillars, because there's an awful lot of water back here. So they would need to be really supportive. So the pillars come all the way along onto the corner here and then over here as well. And then the rest of it is filled in with these lovely mesh pieces that I keep using in all my habitats now, because they are just fantastic. They're probably the best piece in the game, the most usable piece, because they just have so many purposes. It's wonderful. I really do like them. So again, just filling in the gaps basically with all these panels. Use some more of the concrete along the floor as well to create this nice sort of plinth all the way along the bottom. If we go inside, you'll see I've continued that downwards here, and then the stone in this bit here. And then you've got wooden beams used for these uprights on the mesh, and the mesh goes all the way along here. That is for two reasons. One is because you want airflow, so you don't want it all to be solid, because you need, obviously the animals need fresh air. Oh look, it's feeding time. They're running. Oh, do you think they're going to eat the keeper? Wouldn't that be a funny random event if they suddenly ate the keeper? No, they're not going to. Fair enough. They got other things to eat. So yeah, so it's what was I saying? It's for two reasons. It's for ventilation, and I have no idea what the other reason was, but there we go. Anyway, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there, but it looks good. I like this this build. I like what I've done here, so yeah, very happy with this. More to do, more detailing to do. You need some benches in here. Obviously the roof needs a bit of work as well, and lots of detailing inside, so I need to decorate actually in the water here. I need to do some rock work out here in the cave, and this cave as well needs a bit of decorating, so all of that is still to come. So yet again, not a huge amount of progress there really, but quite time consuming, particularly, you know, doing all of these sort of beams and things, just making sure everything looks as good and solid as it can. Just takes a little bit of time. The door fits in really nicely down there. I'm very pleased with how that came out. It's very tricky doing these doors. I don't know if there's a way of doing doors that aren't on the ground. So for example, say I wanted to build this door higher up and then make a fake floor inside. You can't do it. As far as I'm aware, there may be a technique to do it, but I can't discover it. As far as I know, the doors have to be connected to the solid ground. So yes, you could raise up the actual ground, but that's not always something that you want to do. I've tried doing a habitat before. I wanted the door to go in on an upper level and then to be able to go right down underneath it. And you can't do it because the door has to be on the floor. If you know different to me, if there's a technique for being able to do that, please do let me know. But I certainly haven't found it yet. Right, so I think I am just going to continue, because I think I probably continue working on this habitat next. So maybe I will just get to the end of this habitat before we call the episode to a close, and then in episode 2 we will cover the rest of the Reptile House. So let me just load up my next save game and see what I got up to after this. We are done with our crocodile habitat down here, so let me walk you around the corner and we'll see what I've done. A couple of food and drink vending machines, a bin, a couple of benches, nothing too interesting there. So you come around the corner, you've got a couple more benches, and I stuck a couple of these lovely statues on the wall. I thought, I've got this big blank wall here and it kind of needs something. So I thought, yeah, why not have some crocodiles on the wall? I think that looks pretty cool actually. Yeah, why not? Why not indeed? It's my philosophy in this game. Why not? So a couple of information boards on here. I put these switches. I like these switches. I use them quite a lot. And in this case, I think it's one of these things where if you push the button, it will talk to you. There'll be a speaker somewhere and it will say stuff about the animal that you're looking at. You see that quite often in zoos, or you certainly used to. I don't think you see it so much anymore. I think it's because it's an expense, and quite frankly, people vandalise stuff in this country, so stuff like this just doesn't survive. Unfortunately, people abuse it, and if you abuse it, you lose it. But that's my idea, is that you push a button and you get a little man speaking to you from the television telling you about the crocodiles. So let's move into the habitat and we'll see what I've done inside here. And it's pretty straightforward. I've decorated the floor with these lovely big the green panels again, and then I put some extra ferns in as well. Obviously they're not underwater plants technically, but they look good underwater, so I've gone with it. Oh, I've left a bit of a gap there, haven't I? I need to bring that stone down and fill that in. Big old log in the corner here, and a fallen tree as well. Originally this tree was floating. I decided to have a big floating one up here, but unfortunately it blocks their traversable area too much, so I couldn't have it floating, so it had to sink. But I love this sort of thing. It makes the whole thing just look that much more natural, even though it's clearly not. But I like that. I love this sort of detailing. So let's go up and over here. So I wanted to decorate this back wall a bit, just because it was a bit plain, all of this. Obviously the ceiling and the wall and the floor all look exactly the same texture, so I wanted to just decorate this back wall a little bit. So really simple, just some rock work put in all sideways. Didn't want too much sort of up and down flow. Wanted it to look fairly natural, like it's kind of, you know, how rock builds up over years, where you get lines going sideways. So that was kind of my theory with putting all of these sideways. And then again, just some of these panels sunken in to make it look like there's sort of moss and stuff growing over the rocks. I think that looks pretty nice actually. I think it's pretty simple, but it looks good. I like it. And then this is what I've done down here. So I wanted to have some stalactites hanging in the cave here, so that's what I did. I put a load of stalactites in. So these are just these faux rock pieces turned upside down. I made a little blueprint so I could just copy and paste it around. But each one of these is just a single piece. It's an aquatic faux rock tree root, in fact. But when you turn them upside down and hang them from the ceiling, they kind of look like stalactites. So yeah, it's not brilliant, but I kind of like it. It's something a bit different, isn't it? And that was basically it. I did do a few rocks around the back here as well. Obviously there's a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for, enrichment. So you've got a couple of food ones back here, and I put this extra food one in here as well. And I think that was it for enrichment. I don't think there's anything in here. No. I did add lights, you can see, up in the ceiling here. So they're dotted all through here and down in the cave here as well. So let me turn the lights off and let's see what it looks like at night. I think it looks pretty cool. So out here you've got your basic normal white lights, but then inside here you have a nice dim orange light, and it just gives you enough light to see the animals floating in the water. In fact, I could do with one on this front area, couldn't I? I might come back and add another one. This back one works really well. It lights this area up, but this front bit is too dark, isn't it? So I could probably do with another light somewhere up here. Yeah, I'll have to come back and look at that. But down in the cave here, I think this looks pretty cool, where you've got all the stalactites hanging down. It kind of really highlights them, doesn't it? Even though you can't see in the cave that well, obviously you come down to the door here and look in, and yeah, I think that looks cool, especially if there's actually a crocodile sitting in there. I think you'll be quite impressed with that view. So all in all, it's I'm very happy with how this all turned out. As an underwater exhibit, it's not easy. Sorry, not underwater, underground. It's not easy doing stuff underground. It's tricky, as you can tell. I'm not very good with the camera work, and it can be really tricky to actually move stuff around down here and build underground. So I'm very pleased with how this has turned out, especially this ramp system that I had for getting them in and out of the water. I really wasn't sure if that was going to work very well, but it has. So the only issue we have is the fact that they walk through the wall here, but there's really nothing I can do about that. That's just dodgy programming, I guess. But the rest of it I'm very happy with. So upstairs is still, oh, it's still dark. Hang on, let me just get the lights back on. So upstairs is still how we left it. So no more progress up here, but still plenty more to do. Obviously this area here is rock work, so you get a whole load of rock work done here. You've got this exhibit here. You've got 3 more habitats to be built in here, plus a load more rock work around this exhibit here. And then you've got 2 doorways. Actually no, sorry, I've done this doorway, look. So this is what the small doorways are going to look like. Just simple archways, really nothing complicated about that, but it's pretty cool looking. So I will do the same on this one. And then this front door is going to be obviously much bigger and grander, so that's going to be quite an impressive looking thing. So loads to do, and the roof of course, and let me tell you, the roof took me a while, and it changed a couple of times as well, but I will talk about that in the next episode, because I'm going to call it a day for this episode. I think we've probably gone on long enough. We're about halfway, I would say. I think if you consider that there's a habitat underground as well as all of this above ground, I think we're probably about halfway. So I think this is a good point to stop at. And then in episode 2, or part 2 I should say, I don't know what we're on. I think this is episode 9 of this zoo now. So it'll be episode 10 will be the second half of our reptile house, going all the way up to the finale. And yeah, there's going to be some really cool stuff. I've built some pretty cool exhibits actually in here. I'm very pleased with how they all turned out. So let's call it there. Thanks very much for joining me. I do hope it's been educational and entertaining for you. I hope you're enjoying my reptile house, and maybe I've inspired you to go and have a go at your own. You never know. But hey, as long as you've had fun watching me do mine, that's what matters, isn't it? That's why we're all here after all. So I'm gonna leave it there and say goodbye, and I will hopefully see you again in the next episode. But until then, do take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon.